The newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Syringe shortage looms as vaccination picks up all over the world. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro tells us what this could mean for the country's inoculation drive.
The initial shortage of COVID-19 vaccine had slowed down the country's inoculation drive, but the Philippines may soon face another hurdle. In its latest report, the World Health Organization expects a global shortage of syringes of 1 to 2 billion next year.
Pero ito pong 0.3 ml syringes na specifically ginagamit po for mRNA vaccines, ito po ang nagkukulang.
The demand for syringes for COVID-19 shots have outpaced the regular supply line. The WHO said we need 6.8 billion syringes per year just for COVID-19 vaccination. That's already 13% more than the current manufacturing capacity worldwide of 6 billion syringes. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said this would mostly affect the rollout of Pfizer and Moderna.
If we're trying to use another CC like yung 2 ml or 3 ml na syringe, hindi siya masyadong calibrated.
The WHO said the shortage happened. It would further slow down our vaccine rollout and could lead to possible negligence in syringe safety. They say there are two dangers if you don't use the right vaccine or the right syringe with a proper vaccine brand. You can either give an overdose to the patient or an underdose. The next danger is that it's possible that if you don't use the right syringe, you can actually put air into the syringe and then inject it to the body of the patient, which can be critical. The health department already ordered the regional offices to buy and use tuberculin syringes as an alternative since it can be calibrated from 0.1 ml to 1 ml. Hospital ng Maynila in Manila says they still have enough supply of the 0.3 ml syringe as it is provided by the local government, but they have experienced shortage of it in the past.
Nakukulangan kami minsan ng needle, ng syringe kapag yun nga, kung hindi siya nagamit ng maayos, kapag hindi siya nag-open.
Vergeres said they're also exploring other options to source the 0.3 ml syringe. She said they already ordered 44 million syringes through UNICEF. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, We Are One News.
Meanwhile, Palace spokesperson Harry Roque has failed to secure a spot at the International Law Commission after garnering the least number of votes. Recall that Roque was nominated by the government to become a part of the ILC, but his nomination was marred by protest and oppositions. Roque received only 87 votes, or 46% out of the 191 members. Meanwhile, India's representative gained the most votes at 163. Aside from 8 seats by Asia-Pacific states, 26 other representatives from African states, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and Caribbean and Western Europe were elected as members of the UNILC. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque admits his candidacy at the ILC was a challenging campaign. Despite his rejection, Roque wishes the new members of ILC success, especially as they tackle important issues such as rising sea level and vaccine equality. Roque said that he will continue to advocate for these issues as well. Now, on the other hand, Bayan USA is celebrating the UN's rejection of Harry Roque at ILC. The group said that they will continue to oppose the spokesperson's moves to evade accountability for his role in supporting the Duterte administration. Bayan USA said that this also means a rejection of President Duterte by the global community. A nature reserve in Serbia is being repopulated with wildlife to recreate an ice age ecosystem. But how would this fight climate change? The details in this Bloomberg Quick Take.
Creating an ecosystem which would span millions of kilometers, which would require millions of animals, seems like overly ambitious task indeed.
Pleistocene Park is a nature reserve in northeastern Siberia that's being repopulated with animals to recreate an ecosystem that last flourished in the Ice Age. This is being done to mitigate climate change, since the park sits on large areas of permafrost.
Permafrost is a frozen ground, and this ground was frozen for tens of thousands of years. Now with the climate change, permafrost is getting warmer and already getting to the point when it starts to thaw. If permafrost melts, and permafrost is a huge carbon reservoir. There is like 2 times more carbon in the permafrost than in our entire world atmosphere. And if you get rid of the snow somehow, you can cool the permafrost quite substantially. So in this sense, animals can actually help. If underneath the snow you have something tasty and good for animals, they will dig through the snow, and the snow will be very thin, and at that it will lose most of its heat insulating ability. Realistically, we can get 2 to 3 degrees cooling of permafrost by this activity.
Nikita also says that more grassland will help with the reflective qualities of the snow.
Second effect, it's actually direct cooling effect. In May, you cannot walk outside without sunglasses. And at that time, we get for about 6 weeks a year, we get about 160 watts per square meter from every square meter reflected additionally.
He also says that, simply put, the ecosystem will sequester a huge amount of carbon.
I think if we will manage to have this ecosystem on around 3 million square kilometers, this will be able to sequester approximately about 20% of entire anthropogenic emissions. So every year we'll sequester 20% of what our world emits annually.
But this task is not simply difficult. It's a hypothesis.
We are not just introducing one type of animal and seeing how it do. We need to restore the whole functionality of ecosystem, and ecosystems are usually very complex. And no one has done it before, and we do not have entire knowledge how to do it right and how exactly it must function. We know that in the past, those high productive grazing ecosystems existed almost everywhere on the planet. I see the progress in the Pleistocene Park. I see that every year our grass is getting denser and denser. Our animals are doing better and better. I don't know how much time it will take us to get there, if we'll ever get there, but I am sure that this ecosystem and what I'm doing will be helpful for people, and it will be helpful for my kids, it will be helpful for the country, it will be helpful for entire world. And this is kind of, I think, good enough motivation for me to do what I do.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. An expert says President Duterte is trying to control the country's political narrative, both in a bid to get a higher performance rating by December and to maintain their family's hold over Davao City. Speaking on the Chiefs, political analyst Earl Pareño said that the president could once again run for mayor in Davao City. Pareño explained that the Dutertes face a tough opposition if it was left in the hands of Baste and Paulo Duterte. He also said that the Dutertes are deliberately keeping the public on their toes to ensure that they control the country's political narrative.
Knowing Digong, they want to end this year yung December survey at the top. No? So they have to control the narrative now. They have the chance to control the narrative, and they're controlling.
Meanwhile, Pareño added that Senator Bongo looked genuinely hurt as he announced that there will be some, quote, big changes in his vice presidential candidacy. According to Pareño, Go seems to be out of the loop in the discussions between the president and his daughter.
Kung pagpipilian between Bongo at ang anak, tatay pa rin si Digong.
Yeah.
No? Hindi natin maalis yun. Yun yung personal side ng isang politician. May ambisyon yung anak mo. Gusto maging presidente. So, susuportahan niya yun. Pag i-demand nitong anak niya na wala sa eksena si Bongo, maski gaano siya ka-close sa Bongo, tatay pa rin na damdamin ang yung
Mananaig.
Now, here are other election stories we're keeping our eyes on. The Commission on Elections has issued a summon to Bongbong Marcos yesterday over a petition to cancel his candidacy as president. Comelec spokesman James Jimenez said they're awaiting proof of service as the summons is expected to be served today. Now, upon receipt of the Marcos Jr.'s camp, they'll be given 5 days to file an answer. President Rodrigo Duterte appointed his Bedan fraternity brother, Manila Chief Prosecutor Ray Bulay, as Comelec Commissioner. Bulay will be the 7th member of the commission. He still has to clear the commission on appointments before assuming office until February 2, 2027. And Marcos Jr. held a motorcade in Batangas and Quezon Province before meeting with local officials. Vice President Danny Robredo, meanwhile, went to Cebu and spoke with community organizers, religious officials, and youth leaders. Now, as for Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and his party, they met with supporters in Laguna and discussed plans on small businesses if elected in office. Fashion icon Anna Wintour shares her road to success in her interview with leaders of the MVP group. MJ Marfori with the details.
She is perhaps the most important decision maker in the world of fashion. As editor-in-chief of Vogue USA and Condé Nast chief content officer, the Anna Wintour is all about creating a new generation of leaders.
I get huge amounts of pleasure from seeing other people do well. I am so proud when I see people that I've mentored, young talent that I've mentored, whether whatever world they may be in.
In a chat with leaders of the MVP group, the head honcho of a billion-dollar mass media company said she herself started as a young talent who took after her father.
I think I was, as I said before, very influenced by my father and his success, and seeing how he could really have an impact on news and how people thought.
And in order to build others up, she stresses the need to create trust and to never cower away from challenges.
If they don't understand a clear vision and a clear strategy and a clear decision-making process, nothing is worse than not understanding what's needed, what one's goals are, what one's aims are. I think everybody works better when they understand the way forward. Always to learn from challenges.
For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. Boracay has dropped swab test requirements for fully vaccinated guests. But the government has decided to require vaccinations for on-site workers in areas with enough vaccine supply. And an official of the Lakas CMD is proposing a possible term-sharing deal between Sara Duterte, Carpio, and Ferdinand Marcos Jr. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later again at 10:15 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.